Hello, hello. Welcome to another little crochet video. Today, we are going to be making this beautiful hat you see before you. It is indeed all crochet. We're going to be using the handy dandy half double crochet in the third loop stitch. I did a little like two-tone thing on this one because I thought it was fun. We're using half double crochet in the third loop, which gets you these like really beautiful kind of like pseudo knit stitches, like a little pseudo rib stitch. And then we're going to be doing some tapering towards the top of the hat, so that way when you finish it up and seam it, you're working with a minimal amount of fabric at the top. And so you're not left with a bunch of extra fabric on the inside, which I feel is a common problem for crochet hats. And so this hat removes that problem. We're going to be working with different colors, but it's a pretty dang cute hat, and I'm excited to show you how to make it. First off, though, I would like to say a very quick word to our sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace is the incredible all-in-one platform where you can build the website of your dreams, whether that be a portfolio, a blog, an online shop. If there's a website you want to make, Squarespace is a great place to start. They have an incredible library of beautiful premium free templates that are ready for you to install and that are also ready for you to customize to your heart's content. I recently did an overhaul on my website, which I host through Squarespace, and it was so fun to get into all the little nooks and crannies and just totally refresh my branding and my visuals, and it looks so good now. I'm so happy with my website. They also have a lot of really powerful e-commerce tools. They have this new shipping profile set up, which I really love and was very useful for my clearance sale that I just had. They've also got analytics, so if you want to keep an eye on your traffic or potentially your product sales or what have you, they've got a way to keep an eye on that stuff. They have an incredible library of tools and resources that are there and ready for you so that you can curate and create a beautiful online presence. If you yourself have had a website idea sort of rattling around in your brain that you would like to bring to fruition, you can go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and then when you're ready to launch your website into the big, beautiful World Wide Web, you can go to squarespace.com/CheyenneBarton for 10% off your first purchase. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. And now, on with the tutorial. So, let's start off with supplies, shall we? You will need, obviously, yarn. You can use any weight you like, any thickness, any color, any material. This is a worsted weight 100% wool. It's the Cascade Yarns 220. It's just a plain old wool, not super wash, but it's also not super rough, but I really like the color. So this is the yarn we're using. If you want to use a worsted weight yarn like me, you will probably need around 200 yards. Next up, you will need a crochet hook, naturally. This is a Clover Amore hook. This is the 4.5 millimeter. I like using 4.5 millimeter with worsted weight yarn because I find it doesn't make the beanie super slouchy, but it also doesn't make it super stiff. It gives me just the right amount of drape. Then you are going to need a tape measure. This isn't like a hard need, but it will be handy, and you will see why momentarily. Then you are going to need a pair of scissors and a tapestry needle for finishing up your hat and seaming it together and all those things. So these are our supplies. I'm going to go wind this hank into a little cake of yarn, and then we can get started. I'll see you shortly. So actually, before we get going, I'm going to show you why you might want to have a little tape measure with you. So I want you to go ahead and I want you to grab your favorite beanie, whatever it may be. This is a beanie that I got from working at Molly Moon's the first summer I moved to Seattle. So ignore how kind of grimy the label looks. But grab your favorite beanie, however it may be, whatever hat that you love and wear to death. And then if it's got a brim, you can go ahead and unfold it just so it's got its full length. And then you're going to go ahead and measure it from the bottom, I guess, hem to the top. And so for me, that is going to be 29 centimeters. So I know that for this hat that I'm making, I'm going to want to start off with a chain that is 29 centimeters long, because the total length of your chain will end up being the total length of your hat. So let's see. We're going to go ahead and start making that foundation chain. Thank you so much, Beanie. Thank you. I've got my cake yarn here. I'll be pulling from this kind of off screen. But we are going to start with our foundation chain. So take your measurement from your beanie and make a starting chain that is as long as that. So let's see here. And honestly, the one thing I love about this pattern is that it really does not matter the number. It doesn't matter if it's even, odd, whatever. It just needs to be, it's all about measurement, less about count, which is just so much easier. I love crochet patterns that I don't have to use my brain for. So let's see here. Let's get this to 29 inches. Ooh. Let's see. How about that? 29? 28. So I'm going to add just a couple more chains just for safekeeping. So, bum, bum, bum. Great! So there's my starting chain, 29 centimeters long. Let me move in a little bit. Okay, so now we are going to start doing my favorite crochet stitch, half double crochets. You're going to do half double crochets all the way down this starting chain until you have 3 chains left, and you're going to leave those last 3 chains empty. So into the second chain from your hook is where we're going to start. What I like to do, and what I highly recommend you do to make your life easier when it comes to seaming up at the end, I want you to go ahead and flip your chain over, and you're going to see these little bumps here on the back. These little guys right here on the back of your chains. You're going to work into those, and then you'll have this lovely flat starting chain that will be so much easier for you to work into. So into the second chain from your hook, and remember, the loop on your hook does not count. So we've got 1, 2. So into this, I'm going to go ahead and put a half double crochet. Half double crochets. You yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Okay? Easy breezy beautiful. Cover girl. It can be a little bit fiddly working into those back bumps, but once I learned how to do this, I now start all my crochet projects like this, if they require a starting chain, just because it's just so much, it just looks so much nicer, and also you don't have like that weird kind of like wide open chain problem underneath your first row, which I don't like the look of. So I'm going to keep making half double crochets all the way down this chain. Yes, Pepper. Pepper is here to get involved in the tutorial. So I'm going to keep making chains, or keep making half double crochets all the way down my starting chain until I have 3 chains left. So I'll meet you down there. Okay, so as you can see, I've got 3 chains left here on the bottom. 1, 2, 3. Also, don't come at me for my nails. I know they're in bad shape. So great, we've got these 3 chains open. You're just going to leave them as they are. Pepper, light of my life. All right, I had to tend to Pepper for a moment. Anyway, you've got those 3 chains left. You are going to chain 1 and turn. And here is the stitch that we will be working for the rest of this hat. It is half double crochet in the 3rd loop. So let us see here. You likely already know the anatomy of a crochet stitch, but in case you don't, let's go over it together. So here we've got the front loop. Here we've got the back loop, right? These you know. But if you turn it this way, here we have the 3rd loop. And that is where we are going to be working, my friends. And what it does is that it pushes these V's forward so that they sit on one side of the project, giving a very knit aesthetic without the knitting. So you've chained 1, you've turned, and now into all the half double crochets, you'll be doing half double crochet in the 3rd loop. So yarn over, insert your hook into that 3rd loop, so you kind of come under and through, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through. So let's do another one. Yarn over, you're going to insert your hook through the 3rd loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through. I'm going to do a couple more, and then I'm going to turn the hat just so you can see the effect. This is also called the camel stitch in crochet. So we're basically doing the camel stitch for this whole hat. So as you can see now, with the half double crochet in the third loop, it pushes those V's forward and it creates like a pseudo knit stitch almost, which is really cool. And particularly with half double crochet, so you kind of get like 2 rows of these little crochets and then you get 1 row of this, so it very much looks like a 1x2 rib. It's really cool. Let's go ahead and continue on. So you are going to do half double crochet in the third loop all the way back down to the start of your project. So just all the way back down the chain, as you do. Okay, so as you can see, I'm at the end of this row here. I've got 1 stitch left. This first half double crochet can be a wee bit tricky to see. So I like to flip this around towards me and then I can see all the individual V's for each stitch. So we've got 1 more V here at the very end, which indicates we've got 1 more stitch to work into. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip this back. And go ahead and yarn over and work through that final third loop. Yarn over, pull through all 3. Ta-da! Alright, you're gonna chain 1 and flip it over. So, ooh, see? It looks so cool. Now, you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna work in the third loop. So that's gonna be right here. You're gonna half double crochet in the third loop all the way down, but this time, once again, you're going to leave the last 3 stitches untouched. So these last 3 half double crochets, don't touch them. This is all part of why the tapering at the top of the hat looks so nice, okay? Let us see here. Working my half double crochets in the third loop all the way down until I've got 3 half double crochets left. All right, 1 more half double crochet. And then I've got 3 half double crochets here left at the end. We're not going to touch them. So you're going to chain 1, I already chained 1, and turn. And once again, you're going to work half double crochets all the way down the length of your project. And then you will chain 1, turn, and work half double crochet in the third loops all the way back here again. But one more time, you're going to leave these 3 final half double crochets empty. So I will just go ahead and go down to the start of my project and come back, and I'll meet you back here at this end. So I'm back here at our little staircase, is what I like to call it, because it is like a little staircase. So let's see, I have 4, and now working in this last one, we've got 3. Great! So I've got this little staircase here. So it's like 1, 2, 3. It's 3 steps. If you want to count rows, we're currently on the 5th row, about to do our 6th row. And then on the 7th row, we are going to work our way, oh gosh. So next time we come down this way, we'll actually be working our way down this little staircase, and seaming it all together. And that's what creates the beautiful taper at the top of the hat. Let me flip around. I'm going to do half double crochet. I'll flip this around as I should. So I'm going to do half double crochet in the third loop only, all the way down, and then all the way back. And you're going to go all the way down this time. So I will meet you when you get back here. So do basically 2 more rows, and I'll see you back here shortly, okay? Alrighty. So let's see, I've got 1, 2, and 3. Like I said, you're going to work all the way down to the end on that 7th row. So now we're going to go ahead and walk down the stairs together. All right? There is kind of a special way to go about this. It's a way that I like to do it because I think that it creates the neatest seams and minimizes gaps. I have another hat here. Half of it is in this like fluorescent chartreuse. So I'm going to try and not show that part to you because I think it'll look nightmarish on camera. like, oh, maybe it's not as bad as I thought it would. It's an extremely bright yellow, but as you can see here, it creates this lovely little seam as we've worked down the staircase, and we group the stitches together in a way that it creates the little line goes all the way up to that little seam. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So we're still doing half double crochets all the way down, and we'll be doing half double crochets in the third loop where we can. But we are going to be working, it's a bit tricky to see, you're going to be working through this loop right here. So it's part of this half double crochet. It's one leg of this half double crochet. So you're going to work through this loop right here. Okay? Might be a little bit tricky to spot, but I believe in you. If it is a little too weird and you're like, I don't know where this front loop is, I can't see it, then you're just going to go ahead and work through the side of the stitch here in this little gap right here. It's a little bit easier to see. It's kind of a more clear bump, I suppose. So, let's see. We're going to yarn over. I'm going to place my hook through that little front loop thing. And then you're going to keep going down to the next step, and you're going to place your hook through the third loop of that half double crochet. Okay, did you see that? And then we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and you'll have 4 loops on your hook, and then yarn over, pull through all 4. And that gets us down to the next step. Kind of see what I'm doing? I will undo it so that we can do it one more time together here. So, we yarn over, place our hook through that front little loop, keep going, and place your hook through the third loop of the first half double crochet from the next step, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through all 4 loops. Ta-da! Yarn over, half double crochet in the back loop like normal, half double crochet in the third loop like normal, and then here again we've got to go down another staircase, or down another step in our staircase. So yarn over, find that front little loop, there it is, keep going down into the third loop of the next half double crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 4. May take a little maneuvering to get your hook back through all 4, but move with ease and it should be fine. Alright, 2 more half double crochets here. Half double crochet in the third loop, half double crochet in the third loop. And then we've got our final step. So once again, we've got this next step that we're working into. And this time we're just working into the back. We're just working into the backs of these chains like we did for the very, very first row. Okay? So yarn over, insert your hook through that front loop of that half double crochet from the row below, and then insert your hook into the back bump of that starting chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 4 loops. Oh gosh. There we go. And then you've got 2 chains left, so go ahead and pop 2 half double crochets in those final 2 chains. And that is our first little wedge section. I guess wedge is maybe the best term for it. So let me zoom out a little bit for you. Here's our first little wedge. This is essentially the pattern. You will repeat what we did here, rows 1 through 6, and then row 7 is the one where you walk down the stairs, and then row 8 is the one where you come back. So it's essentially wedges of 8 rows, and I tend to repeat it about 6 times to finish off my hats. That tends to gives me the circumference that I need to fit around my head. Also, 4.5 millimeters may have been a little bit too small for this yarn. This yarn has significantly less drape than the other ones I've worked with, but because it is 100% wool. But I'm wondering, and it's not superwash, so I'm wondering if I block it, it'll maybe make it a little loosey-goosier. So, now we've walked down the stairs, but we gotta get back up the stairs so that we can build our next staircase. You get me? So, here we are. We just did this last half double crochet in this final chain, right? So you're going to chain 1, and turn. And now you're going to do half double crochets in the third loop all the way down. It can be a little tricky with these half double crochets that you did kind of descending the staircase, but it looks quite similar. So you've got the third loop here, you've got a third loop here, 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 here. They may be, the loops may be slanted at odd angles, but you should be able to find them. I have full faith in you. Yarn over, half double crochet through the third loop. Yarn over, half double crochet through the third loop. Just all the way back up the staircase. Once you get through the stitches on the staircase, then you've got your normal half double crochets back, so the third loop will be easy to find again. Now that you've been working in camel stitch or half double crochet in the third loop for a while, your V's are kind of just automatically pushed forward. So the third loop is right here, and it almost kind of looks like the back loop, but 1, 2, 3. Okay? So let me do a couple, and then I can show you what that little seam looks like with the addition of another row, because I think it looks so pretty. So if we flip this around, you can see here that working half double crochet in the third loop here pushes these V's forward again and creates just this lovely little seam. These lines all join up here, and it just looks very nice and neat and tidy. So I'm going to go ahead and just half double crochet all the way down again, and you're essentially going to be repeating rows, this is rows 1 through 8, as many times as you need in order to get your hat as wide as you want it to be. I will go ahead and actually work rows, I'm going to finish this 8th row, and then I'm going to work a repeat of rows 1 through 6, just so you guys can see what a second staircase will look like, essentially. Okay? So go ahead and build another staircase, and then we'll meet back here. See you soon. Okay, so as you can see, I've built our second staircase here. So, in terms of counting your rows, so we have our first 8 rows here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So your 8th row is the one that makes this little ridge. And then we've got 6 more for the first part of our staircase architecture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So row 7 is going to be sloping down the staircase, and row 8 is going to be walking back up it and across. Also, as you can see, we follow the exact same rules that we did for the first 6 rows, where you leave the 3 half double crochets of the row below untouched. Okay? Cool. So then it essentially creates, you basically have 9 stitches that you're working down over the course of the staircase, but it's easier if you're just like, okay, 1 step, 2 step, 3 step. I will go ahead and work my way back towards the staircase, and then we'll slide down it together and walk back up, and that's going to be the repeat. And then I will leave you to go and work on your own hat. I'm going to keep working on this one, and then we'll meet again at the end when it's time to seam and finish your beautiful, beautiful beanie. Here we are at another staircase. As we've done in the past, you're gonna yarn over, find that front little loop of the half double crochet from the row below, or that front little leg I should say, third loop of that half double crochet down there, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 4 loops, and then 2 half double crochet in the third loop as per usual. Now it's time for us to go down another step. So yarn over, find that front little leg, or you can just kind of work through this little side stitch. It's really whatever is easiest for you, what feels best. But I like the way that this looks, so I'm going to work through this one. Keep coming down to the step, through the third loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over, pull through all 4 loops. 2 more half double crochets down here. 1 more step. Yarn over, find that front leg, keep going into the 3rd loop of that first half double crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 4, and then you've just got these last 2 half double crochets here at the end. So they might be a little tricky to work into, but again, I believe in you. Cool. So that is another row 7 done. I'm going to go ahead and work another row 8, work my way back up the staircase, and talk to you again once I'm over here, once I'm back over here. Alrighty, there's my final stitch for my row 8 repeat. So chain 1 and turn, and there we go. So we have 2 quote-unquote wedges. I usually call them wedges, but now I realize they can also be called staircases. So we've got 2 wedge staircases. We have our first 8 rows here. We have our second 8 rows here. You are going to make as many of these wedges as you need so that your hat will fit around your head. I find for me, with worsted weight yarn, 6 wedges or 6 staircases tends to do me well, usually fits around my head just fine. This stitch is not going to be as stretchy as like a back loop only stitch, I believe, but it does have some give. I would say maybe you can go like inch or 2 shy of your head circumference. So I'm going to keep working on this until I've got my 6 wedges, and then we will come back and we'll seam this up. I do need to make a note though, make sure you end on a row 8. You want to end on a row where you've just walked all the way back up the staircase. So that way your working loop is essentially over here, and your starting tail, where your slipknot tail is here in the bottom left, and your working yarn is going to be in the top right. So as long as your working yarn ends up here and you end on a row 8, you will be golden. Make however many wedges you need. For a chunky yarn, you might only need 3 or 4. For a finer yarn, you might need 8 or 9. It doesn't need to be an even or an odd number, but it does need to be a full wedge. So make as many as you need. I will probably just be working on this, and I will likely see you tomorrow. And we'll finish this bad boy up. Alright, so it is indeed tomorrow. But I finished the hat, and I think it looks so good. It measures, let's see, it measures, if we follow the curve of it, measures about just shy of 18 inches. I think ideally I would love it to be 19, but because this is 100% wool, it should wet block, so I can make it just a little bit wider if need be. But this does fit around my head. In total, I ended up doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wedges. So I did 7 wedges. I will also tell you a secret. For half of this, I actually ended up going up to a 5mm hook because 4.5 was proving just a little too tight. I've never worked with this yarn before, so that's fine. I was like, I know how this works with the Swish superwash yarn from Knit Picks. 100% wool acts a little differently. But we've got about 19 here. We've got 7 wedges, and as I told you, my working yarn has ended up here, and my starting chain tail, the tail for my slip knot, is down here. So now it's time to seam. You've got the tail on the left-hand side, you've got the working yarn on the right-hand side. What you're going to do is you're going to bring this up, and we're going to seam it together like this. This side here, facing us now, is the wrong side of the work. This is the inside of the hat. whereas this is the outside of the hat. So we're going to seam it going up the inside and then flip it inside out. And then it'll be seamless and beautiful. So let's move in a little bit closer. Now it is time to seam. It's very easy, I promise you. Just because of the nature of this particular stitch, we don't have to do anything too fancy. So let's see here. You've got your final half double crochet from your final row, and you actually do not want to chain one. You just want to leave that half double crochet loop open. So then what you're going to do from this front row, which is actually your starting chain, and as you can see now we have these beautiful V's to work into because we worked into the back bumps. So thank you past us. What you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and find the first stitch. You want to make sure that you're not doing your turning chain, which is going to be here. You want to make sure that you find the first like 2 proper V's for you to work under. So for me, that's going to be right here. Just want to double check. Yeah, okay. Great, so that's my first stitch on this side. And so then what we're going to do is you're going to grab that little working loop that you left open, and you can sort of retension your yarn. And you're actually just going to pull that through. So that's connected us, right? You're going to go ahead and chain 1. Now is the time to chain 1. We're basically just going to be doing slip stitches all the way down. So you're going to go back into that stitch. Okay, I want to make sure that I can do this in a way where you can see it. You're going to go back into that stitch that you just pulled through, as well as that final half double crochet. You're going to yarn over, pull through, or pull up a loop, and then you're going to keep pulling through the loop on your hook for a slip stitch. Cool? Next stitch. Let me lift this up a little bit so you can see more. Next stitch, you just go into the next one here. The one thing to be mindful of here is that you want to make sure you are staying, I guess, like keeping even with your count as far as like you're matching them 1 for 1 between the 2 rows. So here we've got our second half double crochet, or second chain, and here we have our second half double crochet. Yarn over, pull through, continue pulling through for a slip stitch. So I will do this. It can also be a little bit tricky to work through those chains from the starting chain, but again, persevere because it is possible. So, and also keep your slip stitches fairly loose. You don't want to make them too tight. You want to make sure that they maintain a certain amount of mobility so they can stretch along with the rest of your hat. So I'm just going to do a few more up here just so you can get the effect, because going through both loops on both chains essentially allows it to be seamless on the right side of the hat. And also this little seam blends in very well at the back of the hat. So when you flip up the brim, you're not going to notice this seam isn't going to be glaring or anything. Split my yarn there. Alright, so now if you flip this over just so you can see the right side of the hat, it's pretty seamless. It's not a perfect join, obviously, but it's pretty damn good, I think. So it's virtually invisible. And then this is what it ends up looking like on the wrong side. It's essentially like a thick knit column, but again, it blends in very well. So you're going to keep working these slip stitches all the way up here, and after you slip stitch your final 2 stitches together, I'll meet you here at the top, and then we can seam up the top, weave in our ends, and be done with it. Excellent. All right, let me zoom out again. Gorgeous, beautiful. Look at that, you have a hat. And if we flip it right side out, you can see that that seam we made more or less disappears. It's right here. More or less disappears. And then on the wrong side, it ends up looking like this. So we will flip our project like right side out once we're done weaving in our ends and everything. Go ahead. Now you've got your working yarn here at the top of your hat, right? So go ahead and take a fairly long tail, maybe like 12 inches or so. Cut a fairly long tail from your working yarn and finish pulling that. You can even do a little chain one as like a security thing if you want. But chain one to secure, and then you just pull the yarn up and out. Ta-da! So now, like I said, we have a much smaller space here at the top to close up and finish the hat. So what I like to do, because my slip knot tail and my like finishing yarn tail are right next to each other now, I will tie them in a knot a couple of times. Just for security's sake. I'll do 3. There. So 3 little knots to secure everything. And now it's time to close up the top of the hat. Seaming up the top of the hat is very simple. You're going to go ahead, thread your darning needle. Mine has a little bent tip because I find these extremely useful. And then what you're going to do is you're basically just going to thread your needle along the very end of all of these rows. It does not need to be precise. I say maybe get it as close to the top as you can. So I'll kind of go through these stitches. Maybe this one. Let's see. So you go through the stitches like that, and then you're just going to pull, you're going to pull the yarn through. You don't have to cinch it up yet. You could, but you don't need to. So then we're going to keep going around. This really does not have to be particularly precise. You just need to make sure that it gets caught in basically every row. There we go. Okay. Almost done, just a little bit more. So now that you've gone through your hat, now you can just cinch that up. So you're just going to take that tail and pull on it. Ta-da! Now the top of your hat's all cinched up and you don't have a bunch of extra fabric here. Now, what I like to do to secure this and make sure that this little hole doesn't come undone is that I will then take my needle over to the other side here and basically just work it all the way through. So then essentially the yarn goes over the top like that, and then you just can pull to tighten it more. And then I will often also go from the other side as well, essentially just creating like a little X situation, just to pull everything in towards the center there. Ta-da! Great. So then what I'm going to do for another security measure is I'm going to take that tail and the starting tail and just tie them in a couple more knots, because you can really never be too careful. So there we go. Now I'm going to weave these ends in. Our hat is done. Only thing left to do now is weave in these ends. So I'll take this here. Thankfully, because this is 100% wool, it is quite sticky and likes to stick to itself, so I don't have to fret too much about the ends, and those knots that I've tied are just extra security. But what you can do, especially since this is on the inside of the hat, you can basically just like, I'll do like some whip stitches down these little faux knit columns. And then I will usually find some loop or stitch to go under, like this, and then I will go under it again and make a little knot. And then we push that down, pull that tight, and then we'll be able to snip that with our little yarn snips. So there we go. And now we're going to weave in the second end. There we go. So we'll just like feed this down through this little mass that I've made. There we go. And then back through. Cool. And then I'm actually just going to go ahead and cut that there because, again, we tied it in so many knots. I'm really not concerned. And that, my friends, is this hat finished. So let's turn it inside out. And now you can see the top of your hat is so neat and lovely, and there's no weird bunching going on. Oh my gosh, look at that! We made a beanie! Then you can flip the brim up like this. Ta-da! So, because this is 100% wool, I'm gonna probably block it before I wear it out and about, but it's so cute. And if I'm working on this like pretty constantly, a beanie like this will take me maybe 3-4 hours depending on the yarn that I'm using. So it's a very quick make if you've got presents that you need to make, or if you just want to make some for yourself. I think they're quite cute. Let me try this on actually. Look how cute our hat is. Look what we made together. I'm very, very happy with it. I do 100% think I should have used a 5mm hook. Valuable information, because I've got another hank of this yarn in like a really beautiful pink. So I will use a larger hook when I turn that into a hat. But still, it's so cute. I really, really like it. And it's nice and snug and warm and neat and professional looking. So I really like it. And I hope that you like this tutorial. I hope that you make some hats for yourself or for your loved ones this holiday season. Again, it's a very quick make. If I sit down, I can make one of these in about like 3 or 4 hours. Couple episodes of Dimension 20. You can crank them out. So that's all I have for you. Thank you again for watching. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring. Love y'all. And also a big, big thank you to my patrons for being just the best. I actually polled them. I was sort of debating between a couple video ideas, and I polled them, and the crochet beanie won. So you have my patrons to thank for this tutorial. I have been a little bit quiet on Patreon for the month of November, admittedly, because I've been so busy with my show. But now that we're open and we're kind of just getting into the swing of performances, and our show closes in like 2 weeks anyway, which is also wild to think about, my December will be much more active on Patreon. It'll look much more like it normally looks. But check out my Patreon. I've got like art rewards over there, podcasts, so many podcast episodes. I think I'm at like 9. I think I'm up to 90 now. Sketchbook tours, fun little like life blog post thingamabobs. If you like what I do, check out my Patreon. No pressure. I'm happy you're here regardless. Again, thanks for watching. I feel like I have to call this beanie something now. I feel like it needs a name because it's like a finished pattern kind of. I don't know if I want to call it like the Stay Frosty beanie, the Easy Breezy beanie. I don't know. Maybe let me know what you think a cute name would be in the comments. I'm very curious. Regardless, I hope you have fun making yours. Tag me on Instagram if you end up making some. I'll see you around on the World Wide Web, and stay frosty in the meantime. Bye. Adieu. Oh yeah, this is definitely a little bit tight. I can like feel it squeezing my head. I think I just need to block it and then we'll be golden. Ugh.